Dedicated to the 1950s, and we'll take a look at some of the really interesting things that are here during the course of our show. But before we do that, let's take a look at some of the top stories in showbiz this week. Of course, the top story this week, the Oscar nominations. The Last Emperor captured the greatest number of nominations. Bernardo Bertolucci's epic about China's boy emperor is up for 9 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. Broadcast News has 7 nominations for Best Picture, Best Actor William Hurt, and Best Actress Holly Hunter. 3 other movies grabbed 6 nominations each: Empire of the Sun, Fatal Attraction, and Moonstruck. Winners will be announced April 11th in Los Angeles. The National Board of Review granted Lillian Gish its D.W. Griffith Award for Career Achievement. The board also named Steven Spielberg Best Director for his film, Empire of the Sun. The honor came just before Spielberg was passed over for an Oscar nomination. Stevie Wonder has a new album out. It's called Characters. Recently, he was here in New York. He talked with our Cheryl Washington about his music, his childhood, and also his new outlook on life. What resulted is a very in-depth interview with the multi-talented performer.
Over the past 27 years, Stevie Wonder has written the music and lyrics to some of the most popular tunes ever recorded. Now he has produced his most ambitious album to date. Characters encompasses classic, social, and danceable arrangements as diverse as the creator himself.
Musically, I guess, Characters has been a chance for me to create even more, to make the actual visual pictures and lyric that I write in the song visually more vivid in their statement, and dealing with various characters, various personalities, as there is one kind of situation and characters in Skeletons.
Skeletons in your closet, itching to come outside.
I like the first line, skeletons in your closet, itching to come outside. I think we all have certain skeletons in our closet. Do you have any skeletons in your closet?
None. Excuse me. I'm walking off the set. Excuse me. Beg your pardon.
At age 11, Stevlin Morris captured America's hearts with his first #1 hit, Fingertips.
Clap your hands just a little bit louder. Clap your hands just a little bit louder.
Little Stevie Wonder, as he was then called, went on to record more top 10 records than any artist with the exception of Elvis Presley and the Beatles, and he earned 17 Grammys along the way.
Stevie Wonder for Intervision. Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder.
Well, I love music, and it is the reason for many things that have happened, but has happened for me, and it has been a great vehicle. My thing is basically anything that feels right and is the right thing to do.
You are the sunshine of my life.
Music may be the sunshine of Wonder's life, but social conscience often eclipses his many themes, from drunk driving to the fight for a national holiday for the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to denouncing apartheid.
I'd love to be at the celebration of the day that apartheid is over.
Until then, Stevie Wonder will produce more albums, tour internationally, and perhaps even try his hand at acting again, as he did previously on The Cosby Show and All My Children.
What kind of character is Stevie Wonder?
Many characters. I think that a lot of those different characters, if you may, come through in the songs that I write.
Cheryl Washington, CNN, New York.
On the popular syndicated sitcom It's a Living, Paul Kreppel plays Sonny Man, the self-important but very funny piano man. Well, we find out that he's just not a funny man. In fact, on stage he can be very serious, even doing Shakespeare. Sherry Sylvester fills us in.
New York is everything they say. No place that I'd rather be.
Sonny Man may be the most obnoxious musician on series television, but that's just fine with actor Paul Kreppel, who makes his living as the loud lounge lizard. And although the actor has an impressive resume, his character had a rather unusual beginning.
This is a true story. I'm the only person that ever auditioned for the role of Sonny Man. We always hear the stories about 15,000 people auditioned and so is the one that got it. Well, I'm the only person that ever went to the producers for It's a Living.
Producers Tony Thomas and Paul Junger-Witt, who also masterminded the Golden Girls, said to Kreppel's agent,
I need somebody who can sing, who can be obnoxious. And Peter said, Paul Kreppel.
So Paul Kreppel got the part, which was actually an afterthought, written in at the last minute for atmosphere. Kreppel gives viewers and interviewers plenty of that.
Want to hear a little Sonny Man doing Dylan? Once upon a time, just so fine. Hey, threw the girls a dime in your prime. Yeah, didn't you?
Kreppel began performing at the tender age of 2.5 at a neighbor's company picnic, graduated to bar mitzvahs, and his own rock band.
In the late 60s in Boston, called Grindle and the Honey Cloisters.
And although he hates to say it, he admits that there is a side of Sonny that he likes.
Obviously, I don't believe in everything he does and says, but I admire his survival instincts. No matter what anybody says to him.
Jan, I need to ask a favor of you.
No.
I want you to think it over before you answer.
No matter how much of a put-down they give him.
Request from table 5.
Thanks.
But he just fluffs it off and he goes on and he's a survivor.
The musician-actor is also a director and has filled that role on several episodes of It's a Living, but is in no hurry to relinquish his role as Sonny.
There's that little kid in me who's a lot like Sonny, who isn't afraid to be obnoxious once in a while.
Sherry Sylvester, CNN, Hollywood.
When we come back, we're going to take you to another part of the Hot Rod Diner and Bar that you'll only find in New York City. You won't want to miss it, so stay with us.
The clothes shaver from Windmere. For years, those little pills and fuzz meant the end of a favorite sweater. Not anymore. It works wonders on dress shirts around the neck and collar. The clipping action of the rotating blades gently removes the pills and fuzz from almost everything. The clothes shaver brings your favorite old clothes back to life and out of your closet. The clothes shaver. It saves your clothes and money, too. Available at JCPenney.
A double pleasure's waiting for you. A double pleasure from Double Mint Gum. A double great feeling, making you realize Double Mint's the one for you. Double fresh, double smooth, double delicious to chew. A double pleasure is waiting for you. Double Mint Gum. A double pleasure is waiting for you. Double Mint Gum.
Think we're gonna make it?
If this thing does.
Well, at least we're flying back in a 747. Aren't we?
Northwest has an all 747 fleet to and from the Far East.
Yeah. Harry, Kalamazoo Tuesday, I can do that. Memphis Wednesday, I can do that. New York Thursday, I can do that. How am I going to do that?
No matter where you do business, Northwest can fly you there.
Now, that's really you.
I wanted a new look, but this was ridiculous. Then it hit me. Why not get rid of my gray? With the hair color made especially for gray, Loving Care Lotion. There's no peroxide. It washes away the gray without damaging my hair. And I'll never have roots because it washes out gradually. Definitely me.
Clairol's Loving Care. You're only changing your gray.
George Harrison and the other Beatles recently were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Harrison's solo album, Cloud 9, has just gone platinum. Recently, he sat down with our Jeff Panzer and talked about what it was like being part of the Fab Four and what life is like without the Beatles.
1, 2. Back then, long time ago, when grass was green. Woke up in a daze.
I think it's basically a good record, good songs, and I think that comes about from the fact that the production with Jeff Lynne really, you know, put something extra in there for me, and but I was ready for that, you see, after the years that I've not made an album, that I was just ready to do a good album.
The microscopes that magnified the tears started once and all. Still
1988, George Harrison can finally laugh at the past and find it humorous.
Yeah, I'm much more relaxed about it now. And, you know, everybody knows the history where we all split up and we had a lot of troubles with each other, but I know exactly what my contribution was. And something like Fab, to do that Fab song is, you know, I'm much more at ease with it. I can just take it completely as a joke and as a trip down memory lane. I enjoyed my position in the band because I didn't really want to be one of them out there in the front. I liked being this one who could stand back and see it from a different point of view. Well, I met John through Paul. And the thing about it was at that time I was very little. I was just this little kid, you know. And although John was probably maybe 2 or 3 years older, for some reason he felt in his own mind that he was like this big old guy. And but I lasted, you see. I knew how to make it through there somehow.
So come on back and see just what you mean to me.
Although John and Paul did exceptionally well as songwriters, I mean, to a degree, it was very difficult to come in as a songwriter. But because they had formed this association, they decided to be Lennon-McCartney. And that thing became, you know, bigger, I think, than they expected. For me to try and penetrate that with, you know, the sort of sibling rivalry, you know, I didn't get a lot of encouragement from, well, John gave me a lot more than maybe Paul did in those days. I've come out the other end of that now, and I just can see all the really good stuff that we did, the fun we had, and I know exactly about my contribution to the Beatles.
I don't have to say much because I'm the quiet Beatle. It is unfortunate Paul's not here because he was the one who had the speech in his pocket.
Did you miss Paul?
No. I think he missed it more than, you know? I mean, it would have been great if he'd have been there. But, you know, he just chose not to be there, and he just missed it himself. He missed out on a great experience.
Do you have any fears of going out in public since what happened to John in 1981?
Well, I'm very careful when I get near loonies, you know? Like, the Hall of Fame was such a night, you know? It was very stressful being in a room full of crazed people, even though they were all supposed to be from the record business. But no, I just take everything as it comes, and I just take care not to, you know, not to get into weird situations.
How do you feel about Michael Jackson owning the Beatles' music?
I thought it was very strange because he was supposed to be Paul's friend. Personally, I only have about 10 or 12 songs that was in that catalogue. I'd still like them back, Michael. They don't make him that much money. I want him to give to my boy in my will.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right.
You mentioned your son. How did you introduce him to the Beatles?
I didn't. He just, you know, like all babies growing up when they're about 5 or 6, they all watch Yellow Submarine cartoon. He amazed me one day because he started playing the piano, and he said, "Hey, Dad, how does that Bulldog go? Hey, Bulldog." And I thought, how could he ever hear this song Bulldog? It's so obscure. And I realized it's the Yellow Submarine movie.
Is rock and roll ageless?
It looks like, because, yeah, it looks like. You know, I mean, it's been going now how many years, I don't know. They said it was not going to last, and it's lasted. And it's turned into, you know, the most popular music of all time. I think there's always space for other kind of music. But this stuff obviously has lasting power.
It's all right.
Director John Hughes is probably best known for his Brat Pack movies. Now, with his film She's Having a Baby, he's moving into the adult world. He sat down with our Dennis Michael in Hollywood and talked about how he also makes his characters so lifelike.
She's Having a Baby might get lumped in with a number of other current releases that have the word baby in the title and infants in the storyline. But says director John Hughes, it doesn't quite belong in that group.
It's a problem if people perceive it as another baby movie, which it isn't. It is, it is a compliment in a way to those films because it is about everything that leads up to it. He gets married and a great deal of confusion about his job and wonders what he's doing with himself, and his in-laws over for dinner, and he gets a house and fixes a lapse. I mean, I've done all those things.
In fact, studio publicity for She's Having a Baby describes it as being somewhat autobiographical. Hughes urges people not to take that too seriously. It's his story, but then it's everybody's story.
I've always had my best luck with projects when I do things that people come out of the theater and say, he was looking at my window, that's my life.
Hughes admits looking into those windows and eavesdropping too in order to get the accurate dialogue and emotions that critics have praised in such films as Pretty in Pink and The Breakfast Club.
It's no great trick. You just go to any mall, sit down, try not to look too conspicuous, and listen.
With She's Having a Baby barely in the theaters, Hughes has already finished shooting another comedy, Big Country, with Dan Aykroyd and John Candy. That film is due out late this summer. Dennis Michael, CNN, Hollywood.
Well, that's it for this edition of Showbiz This Week. When I got out of the Army, I got a 1960 black Cadillac, almost like this one, for $100. If I had it today, boy, I'd turn it into a booth just like this one. Next week, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida fans, Iron Butterflies back together. We'll talk to them. See you then.